The decline of play. There's a lot of information here that I'm gonna be reading off to you. There's a bunch of notes. I read a study about it. I watched a YouTube video about it first, then I read a study about it. It was about 21 pages long on the government website.
Okay.
Okay. So
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you a lot of questions, by the way. Okay.
Please don't.
So Peter Gray is an American psychology researcher. And in his study, he notes over the past half century in the United States and other developed nations, children's free play with other children has declined sharply. Over the same period, anxiety, depressions, feeling of helplessness, narcissism have increased sharply in children and adolescents and young adults. I also want to note, very important, correlation does not equal causation.
That's true.
So okay, perfect. But he argues it has a strong connection, and also I want to note that free play used in here refers to the activity of freely chosen and directed by the participants and undertaken for its own sake. I'm just telling you. I'm giving you the definition of this.
What play is?
Yes. Okay. As a kid, did you play a lot outside?
Ish, yeah.
You did? Okay.
Ish.
How important do you think this is? Like, how important do you think playing outside
is?
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the friendship thing where like it's like you need people that also like going outside to go outside, but also like I don't want to get off track, but like I think there's also a difference in like perception of how safe it is to be outside as a kid. You know, like I would go out when I was young, like middle school or something, and then just ride my bicycle with like my friends, just like for miles, just wherever. And it's like now that would never happen because you would instantly get like either mugged or like, you know, like
so
hit by a car or something.
So that's super important, by the way.
Really?
This is super important. By the way, I'm leading you into some of these questions. By the way, I'm super excited about this.
I'm falling into trap.
Okay.
God.
So researchers have used this scale. It's called the Taylor Manifest Anxiety Scale to assess level anxiety levels in college students since the 1950s. And a version was made for children in elementary school in like 1956. It was found approximately 85% of young people in most recent samples have anxiety and depression scores over depression scores greater than the average score from those in the 50s. So essentially anxiety and depression have gone up. And I want to ask you, why do you think this would be? There was a lot of economic factors too that were happening during this whole period of time. To give some context, this was the 1950s to the early 2000s. During that time,
the entire time, no one had depression.
No. It's greater levels. It's greater levels from in the early 2000s than in the 1950s. So anxiety and depression have gone up in young adults and children.
Interesting.
But also there was a lot of economic factors that were happening here. Great Depression, war. Do you think that played a role in this?
That they didn't have depression because that was the case?
No, I'm asking if depression and anxiety worsened because of these things.
Wasn't it the opposite though? Like you said that like they didn't have depression because of those things.
No, I asked you if you thought that they got depression because of war and because of the state of the economy.
I think, honestly, it's because there's more openness to admit that you have depression. Because like before it's like it's always been like a taboo of sorts, but now there's more openness to admit how you feel, even if you're like a man or, you know, anybody really, man, woman, child, anybody. They could admit they're like feeling bad, and then, you know, it's fine.
Yo, that's actually not the direction I thought you would take.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoops, I'm sorry.
No, that's actually
going.
That's a good answer. That's actually a really good answer. I'm actually very, very surprised because I thought you would mention that it did. I thought you would mention that because of these economic factors and because of like the state of the economy being in a depression, that, you know, it's likely that these young adults and children would be more depressed and have more anxiety because of those things.
I think also like if you think about the number or the more social interactions that you have now as well could also lead to more depression. If you think about the things you see on like social media and like everybody like if you're having a bad time and then you see on social media that everybody's having a good time, then that makes you feel worse.
Yeah.
But if you're like in your small community and you're not communicating, if you're communicating by mail, you know, like you only know people around your town, I feel like your immediate community is like feeling the same burdens as you, so you don't feel like the other or like an outcast. So you're like, oh, you know, like everybody is going through this right now, when in fact, like maybe they're not, you know.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yes, I did. Okay, so
I'm sorry.
that,
like,
no,
where,
that
where
is a
did you,
great.
want to go?
No, that is a great answer. That honestly is a super good answer, because I did want to say that researchers also found no relationship between the indices of young people's anxiety and depression and the economic cycles. So the economic cycles do not play a part in all
Really?
of this. No, that's what they found out.
So what are your thoughts then? I mean, you
Wait,
prompted
wait,
me,
wait.
but
I still
All
still
right.
have. There's still a lot here. By
I'll
the way,
let you cook. All
Okay,
right.
okay. Let me cook. So yeah. So economic cycles, wars, or any other kinds of national or world events that people sometimes talk about affecting young people's mental states. It doesn't. No,
work.
it does not affect it. And according to researchers, rates of anxiety and depression among children and adolescents were far lower during the Great Depression, World War II, the Cold War, and the 60s and the early 70s than they are today. And I wanted to say, and I think you answered this. I think you answered this very well. It's like, why do you think events like this wouldn't affect anxiety or depression of young people? And do you think that has changed?
I think there is quite a few reasons. I don't know if like I'd hit the exact one, but like one of the things I think about is the fact that everybody has a singular goal during those times. And it's like everybody has like, you know, like in the Great Depression, like there's everybody's suffering. Everybody needs to like, you know, pick up and do what they can to like make it. Everybody's in the same case during like a giant war event. Like it's in everybody's conscience, and like a lot of the I guess you would say propaganda, the like, you know, the wartime morale building, like pro American, you know, like pro like, you know, I got it, like the Rosie Riveter one is like do what you can, or like, you know, like gather cans to like help support or buy war bonds, you know, like there's a lot of like patriotic stuff. So like you would feel part of like a giant community. Like you may be like, oh, you know, like it's like, yeah, family's out like doing this, but however, you know, everybody's going through it and I need to do my part to like help out. So like people maybe have like tapped into like the greater good in that sense, or like, oh, you know, I'm like feeling part of a giant community.
Yes, I think that's good. Honestly, it's like I think the same thing. I think yes, but there's still a lot more. By the way.
Oh, really?
Yes, there's still a lot more.
I mean, it was 27 pages.
Yes, and I want to say that two goals, by the way, two goals that are talked about in this study, by the way, are intrinsic goals and extrinsic goals. This is all going to wrap around, by the way, to what I originally mentioned about children at play. But to mention, there's two goals here. There's intrinsic goals and extrinsic goals. Developing competency in an activity one enjoys, and making friends, finding meaning in life, and pursuing a heartfelt religious path are examples of intrinsic goals, by the way. So
like internal.
Yes, like internal. And then getting high grades in school, making a lot of money, achieving high status, and looking good to others are example of extrinsic goals. And I want to ask you, do you think our society is moving more towards extrinsic goals?
Or in
No,
extrinsic?
Yeah. I know. It's this is all gonna loop right back around.
Really?
By the way, yeah. It's,
I think it's honestly like it's if you look at a bell curve, you know how like it kind of goes like this.
Yeah.
I think it's like spikes and then low in the middle and then like spikes, because like there are two extremes on either end.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the culture nowadays is like focusing on like just doing you know, doing things that like either benefit or like you enjoy, like instead of doing things that you'd rather not. So like seeking the like things that make you happy versus like maybe like tougher things that you wouldn't do. It's like, you know, like that type of stuff. But also, while being on like social media and like seeing everything else, there's definitely like a social pressure to like succeed and progress in your career. Like, you know, like having like, or at least portraying that you have like a certain amount of wealth is very, very high on the thing. One thing we could talk about at some point, creases on shoes apparently are like a big no-no in Gen Z / like later on. Like I don't think it has passed Gen Z yet, but like creases on the shoe are very cringeworthy. Like they're like, it's like, dude, why are you cringing your shoe? Like,
my god,
dude, or like, yeah,
they
like
should take a look at my shoes.
No, they'll be like,
oh yeah,
you might as well throw those away.
Oh my god,
get new ones.
I did want to say that I think everything is a balance. Everything should be a balance of both. I think lately, over the past few years, it has been more extrinsic, meaning that people are looking for, especially with some of these like, I'm just thinking back on the one that speaks out to me is like the FIRE movement, which is like retiring early, working hard, achieving great status, and like getting ahead in life, essentially, but and also portraying yourself a certain way to other people. So I think that like even
that
mentioning
Sigma
back,
grind set.
That's
the
Sigma
exactly. Grind set.
It's exactly it. By the way, but I did. There's this last piece. There's this last piece that I did want to talk about, and this is gonna circle back. By the way, this is the point where we circle back to the research and this guy Peter.
The point of no return.
So Peter mentions that play functions are a major means by which children develop intrinsic interest and competencies and learn how to make decisions, solve problems, exert self-control, follow the rules, learn to regulate their emotions, make friends, and learn to get along with others as equals and experience joy. Through all these effects, play promotes mental health, and Peter Gray argues that without play, young people fail to acquire the social and emotional skill necessary for a healthy development. And I wanted to ask you your thoughts, because play has been declining in recent years, over the, like as mentioned, over the past half century. And one of the issues too is that they want to keep their children at home, being safe. Yeah. But what do you think that's true, that these playing outside and playing with others and having undirected play plays a big role in your life?
I think, like, currently, obviously not. Me going from my house to work, no play.
No.
Oh no
my
capes.
God.
But I think that I think that we're a social creature, and that, like, at the core, as much as we separate ourselves from each other through like virtual means, or like through, like, I don't know, like being inside, or like distance, like we all strive like on the inside, like to connect with somebody. You know what I mean? Like at some level, like even if you think you don't want to connect with people, like if you do find like someone who also is like, you know, thinks similarly, like similar stuff to you, like, you know, you'd connect, and then that is very special.
Yeah.
So I do feel like there's a connection between, like, you know, the argument that like having in-person connections versus like external, there's like a lot of nuance that's lost when you're not in person, you know, that there's like social cues that you don't pick up if you have not experienced it yet, versus like if you have experienced it in person.
Yeah, it's so. By the way, this is a lot of information. It's like
It is a lot
it's legitimately a lot of information. There's a
But
lot.
it's a great topic. I do enjoy it. This is fun.
Yeah, no, it's very important too because it's not only also I like on his YouTube video. By the way, I read the paper. They don't. Yeah, he has a YouTube channel or he has a YouTube video. It's a TED Talk, but there's people in the comments there that were saying how important this is not only for young people and children, but for adults and workers. Because
to go outside and connect.
Yes, because it's like as mentioned before, even with friendship, friendship has been declining, and even over the past like 3 years, we could see a shift of people not interacting as much or interacting in different ways where it's not building up like
that level of trust that you would like break through that threshold of friendship.
Yeah, so I thought it was pretty important. I'm pretty sure that there's some things I might have like I'm just saying fine. It's a lot of information. I'm trying to summarize it in such a short amount of time, but I think that I tried to hit as many points as possible on here. There's a lot of if you want to go read it, you could go read it. It's
link in the description.
Link in the description, but it's the decline of play. How people are young, it's children and young adults aren't playing outside and aren't developing these social skills where they were in earlier years. And in like I mentioned, causation and correlation
aren't exactly in the same.
Yeah, but he like this guy Peter Gray argues that there's a strong link between these two and your mental health, which is important, and it's also important to I thought it was an important topic to talk about because of that.
It definitely is.
Yeah, but that's and then the last thing I just have is like it's a lot. I just wrote it's a lot.
So any closing thoughts on your end? I mean, like you've asked me a lot of questions like how I felt, but I mean like how do you want to summarize your thoughts on this?
My thoughts on it is that, this study was done from the 50s to the early 2000s. A lot of things have changed. Video games were essentially being introduced during this time. I think the landscape of building social skills has changed, and I believe it's going to be changing. And I think it's also important to read and educate yourself on what exactly you might be missing out on, especially because like I used to play a lot outside as a kid, by the way. I used to play outside a lot as a kid. I played with the neighbor kids. It did teach me a lot of skills, by the way, a lot of social skills, and a lot of it taught me how to interact with others. But I don't know. I'm just saying that I thought it was
weird
important.
Flex, but okay.
No, oh my god. Hey, I played outside. I played hockey outside with the neighbor kids.
Hockey.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, I think those are just my closing thoughts on all this. I thought it was interesting, but let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about this, and if you found it interesting. Or
where he got it wrong.
Yes.
And where I got it right. Let's go.
Oh my god! Don't roast me too hard. Okay.